Every time I let down my guard, you disappoint me.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time, this is a really interesting book challenge that I'm doing today. And it's a kind of a process of judging a book in a way you wouldn't normally judge a book. So normally, well, I personally am aware that I kind of start thinking about what I think of the book after about 30, 50 pages. But with this situation, we're looking at the first paragraph, possibly the first page. But the idea is pick the first paragraph and read it and then rank those books according to worst to best in how you're feeling from that initial little snippet. And the idea is to pick between 5 and 10 books. I've picked 5 books, so it's not an enormously long video. And I've picked books that I'm hoping not everybody have read, because then hopefully you're judging it on this little snippet of the book. That's the idea of the challenge. It's a really interesting idea. I've really enjoyed watching other people's videos of this. So it was originally created by Ali Risdal, and it was revived by Jess Book Girl TV recently, and lots of people in our little corner of BookTube have been doing it since then. And I was tagged by Cliff, but to be fair, when I saw Pat's, I thought I'm going to do that. So Pat didn't tag me, but I was going to do the tag or the challenge based on watching hers anyway. But now Cliff's tagged me anyway, so thank you, Cliff, for that. So what books have I got? I'll tell you the books, and then I'll read this first little snippet of each of the books. So I've got Last Exit to Brooklyn by Hubert Selby Jr. So this is a book you might have read, I'm not sure. And this would be part of the Banned Books project that MJ started. So this is something that I've been meaning to read for that project. But there's that one. And then there's also 10 Low by Stark Holborn. So I've had this quite a while. I bought this when it first came out on paperback, and it's been sitting on my shelves for ages. And I know Ollie mentioned it quite recently, like a few months ago. You talked about the whole series. This is actually a series of books now. But this is the first one, 10 Low by Stark Holborn. Razzmatazz by Christopher Moore. So this is a very much lighter book than the others, I think. But it should be fun. It's got a similar design, and I think it's in a similar world as the book he wrote called Noir, which I really enjoyed. So I like Christopher Moore. I think he's really good. So we'll see. But this is Razzmatazz. Nice floppy paperback. And then this has had a lot of acclaim, and I finally got it. I thought I'd get it. So this is Planet 4 by Emma Newman. So I haven't had this for very long, but I'm going to read a bit of this one, Planet 4 by Emma Newman. And then the last one I'm mentioning here, but the first one I'll read is Chain Gang All-Stars. And that's by Nana Kwame Ajed Brenya. And this did get a lot of acclaim. I read some of the stories in Friday Black, which is a short story collection he released before this, and I really like that. So I am definitely intrigued, and I've seen a lot of praise for this. Okay, so those are the books I'm going to read. So I'll start with this one. So I'm not going to read any blurbs or tell you the plot or anything. We're just basing it on the... Oh, this one's signed. We're just basing it on this little snippet I'm going to read, okay? So there's like a prologue bit called The Freeing of Melancholia Bishop. She felt their eyes, all those executioners. Welcome, young lady, said Mickey Wright, the premier announcer for Chain Gang All-Stars, the crown jewel in the criminal action penal entertainment program. Why don't you just tell us your name? His high boots were planted in the turf of the battleground, which was long and green, stroked with cocaine-white hash marks, like a divergent football field. It was Super Bowl weekend, a fact that Wright was contractually obligated to mention between every match that evening. You know my name. She noticed her own steadiness and felt a dim love for herself. Strange, she'd counted herself wretched for so long, but the crowd seemed to appreciate her boldness. They cheered, though their support was edged with a brutal irony. They looked down on this black woman dressed in the grey jumpsuit of the incarcerated. She was tall and strong, and they looked down on her and the tight cools of black hair on her head. They looked down gleefully. She was about to die. They believed this the way they believed in the sun and moon and the air that they breathed. Feisty, Wright said with a grin. Maybe that's what we should call you, Little Miss Feisty. My name is Loretta Tharwell, she said, and she looked at the people all around her. There were so many of them, so many waves of humans who would never be the object of such cruel attention. Would never know how it made you feel, both tiny and all-powerful. How the thrum of thousands was so loud, so constant, it could disappear from your ears but continue to roar as something felt in the body. Tharwell gripped the weapon she'd been given, a thin, spiraling corkscrew with a cherrywood handle. It was light and simple and weak. So that's the beginning of Chain Gang All-Stars. It's quite a good beginning. Okay, Planetfall by Emma Newman. Again, this has had a lot of acclaim, so let's have a look. Let's see how it's written. Every time I come down here, I think about my mother. I don't want to, it just happens. My brain has decided it's a critical subroutine that must be executed when the correct variables are in place. When time equals pre-dawn, and when physical location equals beneath the colony, and when physical act equals opening the door to the masher, and they run unpleasant memory of mother number 345. My hand is pushing the door open and I'm back at my old lab, and she's following me in, her heels clicking on the tiled floor. I've prepped the equipment to run 1 hour before her arrival, so there's something to show straight away. She never was a patient woman. Is that a printer? She asked, and I nodded. It started then. I know it now that I'm looking back, the tightening of my gut as I dared to hope I might impress her. Yeah, I smiled. She didn't. Like the one I have at home. Better. What's it printing? My latest work. She went up to the plexiglass and peered through, seeing nothing but a few millimeters of tissue. She turned to me with her nose slightly wrinkled. What is it printing? A new pancreas, I said, for Dad. Oh. She'd hoped I was making something she could hang up in the hallway of her inert home. I didn't realize you were involved in this sort of thing. I've seen it on the news. And that was the moment I knew I'd been stupid to hope for anything. The gene therapy isn't working out for him. There's an unusual base pair sequence in the... Renata, she holds up my hand. You know I don't understand this kind of thing. The hand lowers to rest over her heart. I'm an artist. Okay, I am intrigued, to be fair. So that's Planetfall by Emma Newman. Christopher Moore's Razzmatazz. So this starts with a prologue. The prologue is subtitled A Dragon in Big Town. So about 300 years ago, when the King dynasty isn't even old enough to buy a beer, there comes a wave of barbarians out of the north with such fury in numbers that it kicks 9 shades of shit out of the Emperor's army, causing much embarrassment and fear among the aristocracy, and a large number of corpses among the peasants and military. You can't walk a block without tripping over a widow or an orphan. The sky is black with the smoke of burning villages, and it's widely agreed throughout China that the soup of the day is cream of sadness. So the emperor calls his ministers together and says, who are these mugs? Why do they vex me thus? And will no one rid me of them? And one of his ministers, a toady whose name is lost to history, but let's say he's called Jeff, says, these are the same mugs from the north that have invaded us regularly to those many years. But he does not say, they vex you thus because you have opened up the aristocracy to anyone who can afford the ducats, including merchants and lawyers. So you have a kingdom very top-heavy with bums, but you have not spent any of that sweet cabbage on walls, weapons, or the training of soldiers. Jeff does not say this because he is one of those self-same bums of which he speaks. But he does say, I hear of a Buddhist monastery in Fujian province where the monks train day and night in the art of fighting and are said to be so fierce that one of them punches out a yak's lights when he goes outside to take a leak in the morning, rings the bell of a wild yak with one hand on his willy, and does not get even a drop on his robe. And the Emperor says unto Jeff, yeah, go get those guys. Offer them substantial cheddar and powerless positions at court to save our bacon. Okay, so that's the beginning of Razzmatazz. Slightly different tone. There's some rude words in there. So yeah, this is very much more comedic as well. And that prologue, I don't think that prologue is going to have much to do with the rest of the book, judging from what I think is true about the setting of the book. Anyway, that's Razzmatazz. 10 low. I hunch closer to the spluttering fire. The darkness is vast, hiding countless lives, but down here the wind just coughs dust into my eyes. I close them against the grit, against the light of the struggling flames, against the emptiness around me, knowing I should sleep, but afraid of what I might dream. My thoughts have a habit of coming loose. The more I keep to myself, the more they seep from my head, catching on the stubble of my scalp and trailing out behind me like cotton. Unless I'm careful, I won't get them reeled in again before I make red crop. I can't afford that. Single words, single thoughts, no doubts and no questions. I tug the scarf further down the brim of my hat. Sometimes I wish for hair, thick and curling as it once was, to cover my ears and warm my scalp. I feel for the pouch at my hip. It is slack. The beads inside cold and too few. Breath. I hold one to my lips and try to believe it is what people say. A sphere of pure air from the forests of Prosper. 10 Low by Stark Holborn. All right, and the last one, is this the most famous one? Might be the most famous one. Last Exit to Brooklyn. I have seen the film. And it really affected me, actually, when I saw the film. I was a teenager, and I thought it was really powerful. I've got loads of forwards here. Oh, here we go. This is where it starts. They sprawled along the counter and on the chairs. Another night. Another drag of a night in the Greeks. A beat-up all-night diner near the Brooklyn Army base. Once in a while, a doggy or seaman came in for a hamburger and played the jukebox. But they usually played some goddamn hillbilly record. They tried to get the Greek to take those records off. But he'd tell them no. They come in and spend money. You sit all night and buy nothing. Are you kidding me, Alex? You could have retired on the money we spend in here. Scatter, you don't even pay my car fare. 24 records on the jukebox. They could have any 12 they wanted, but the others were for the customers from the base. If somebody played a Lefty Frazzle record or some other shit kicker, they moaned, made motions with their hands, and walked out to the street. Two jokers were throwing quarters in, so they leaned against the lamppost and car fenders. A warm, clear night, and they walked in small circles, dragging the right foot slowly in the hip coxsackie shuffle, cigarettes hanging from mouths, collars of sports shirts turned up in the back, down and rolled in front. Squinting, spitting, watching cars roll by, identifying them, make, the model, the year, horsepower, overhead valve, V8, 6, 8, 100 cylinders, lots of horses, lots of chrome, red and amber grille lights. You see the grill on the new Pontiac, man? That's real sharp. Yeah, but a lousy pickup. You can't beat a Plymouth for a pickup. Shit, can't hold the road like a Buick. Outrun any cop in the city with a Roadmaster. If you get started, straightaways, turns, outruns the law, diner flows, hydromatics. Can't get started. They'd all be over you before you got a block. Not in a new 88. You hit the gas and it throws you out of the seat. Great car. Ain't stealing nothing else anymore. Greatest for a job. Still like the Pontiac. If I was buying a car, but fender skirts on it, grille lights, a set of caddy hubcaps, and a big-ass aerial in the rear. Shit, that's the sharpest job on the road. It's the paragraph is like 2 pages long. So I'll leave it there. So Last Exit to Brooklyn, much more colloquial in its tone and its style. So what's grabbed me? I go from reverse order. Right. This is number 5. This is the least ranked book that grabbed me. So this one grabbed me the least. I still read it, but for now, from this challenge, just from that little snippet, Razzmatazz grabbed me the least. And then probably, even though I'm sure it's a good book, but the Chain Gang All Stars didn't grab me as much. And then Last Exit to Brooklyn. And I think number 2 is Planetfall. So that's a runner-up. And then this one is probably the one that grabbed me the most, 10 Low by Stark Holborn. What did you think? Do you think any of those 5 should be the one that I should read in March? There's a bunch of other things I'm reading in March, but what do you think about my ranking of the books, and where would you put those books? Which one do you think is the most attractive from that little snippet? It's not a lot to go on, but what do you think? This next month, I will be definitely reading Service Model by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I am not utterly certain in other things, but I haven't been able to start Eyes of the Dragon, so that's on my priority list as well. So we'll see. But anyway, what do you think of those 5 books? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. And, oh, I am supposed to tag some people as well, so I will tag some people in the description. But I need to look at who's already been tagged and see if I can find some people that haven't been tagged yet. So anyway, yeah, thank you for watching. Stay curious, everybody.
Paint me a picture